Y'all, I done lost 180 pounds with the meat-focused way of eating. Well, I creeped up about 12 pounds. So we're trying some things, and I'm getting back to my roots. We are macro tracking right now. It's Baptism Sunday, guys. And the baptisms happen over there. So feel free to watch my church. The link is in the description of all of my videos. But that is our stage. So, me and Angie came and we're at Mom and I as usual. That's my lunch date today. So it's Jesus but no Judy. I'm going to get my pork steak as usual, and I'm going to get my broccoli and coleslaw. So that's what I'm having for lunch today. I'll show you when it gets here. Okay, I got a salad with Thousand Island dressing. Okay, so I'm having broccoli and a steak. So a salad, pork steak, and broccoli is what I'm getting. I don't know what that is, but that looks amazing. What's that? Philadelphia cheesesteak, I think is what it is. All right, that's my lunch. So I'm not making a video for it. You're just going to have to know that I'm doing... Ow! Just have to know that I'm doing it. I don't want to stop it yet. I'm making some more jerky. What I did was... I told y'all I bought that stuff. I'm actually going to have to take it out and flip it because I left it on the parchment paper so it didn't drip all in the bottom the first go around. So now I'm going to work on pulling them out and just rotating them. And I'll talk to y'all whenever I get done with that. And we'll talk about what we did at church today. I took them all off of the parchment paper. And they're definitely wet. So... I'm going to let it run it's been running, I think, about 6 hours. And now I'm going to let it run for another 4 hours. Well, I'll check it here and there. But anyway, so potential 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So potentially 10 hours. We'll see. I got it set on, looks like 165. I don't know if it has to go. I don't know. I'll leave it where it's at. I'm good with that. So... Oh, dude, Terri. Corn flabbit. Okay, 4 hours and 165 start. Corn flabbit. It was only down 5 minutes, so it'd be all right. All right, 4 hours more at 165. So, yeah, like I said, I just want to play around and try to make something that is shelf stable. All right, well, we don't have the Judy portion of today. I showed you Angie and I went out to eat. And we went to Mom and I's usual place. So that was kind of fun. And we had my favorite gal. She waits on me and Mom. She always knows what I'm going to get. If I ordered something wrong, she would definitely let me know. So today's church was Pastor Darren. And so, we're not a mega church, but for our area, we have quite a few people. That's 2,000. I think there's anywhere up to 2,000 on any given Sunday. And, we have the online. So I'm just going to talk about what I took from the message. So if you want to hear directly from Pastor Darren, please go on to the link. I have a link to my church in description of every video. You're welcome to watch it. I go to 10 o'clock service. So you can watch at 10 o'clock and we'll be watching at the same time. But today was Pastor Darren. He is the IT communications pastor. And so he was laughing. He said, usually the only reason why Pastor Chris has him to pick or has him to preach is when there's a topic that they know they're going to get hate mail for. I mean, he was joking, but he says, I always get the hard topics, the topics that we're going to get hate mail for. He said, the Lord put a topic or a verse into Pastor Chris's heart to talk about, but the verse has big words. And he said he thinks Pastor Chris, who's from Kentucky, wants to hear how Pastor Darren, I think he said Tennessee, will say the big words. So it's Kentucky versus Tennessee. But anyway, so he laughed about that. He said, I only have to preach whenever it's a bad topic or when Pastor Chris picks a verse, it's got big words and he just wants to see who says them better. So, but it was fun. We're still doing the Drawn Out series, which is about God's drawing out Moses. Kids church, they said that they had kids camp this past weekend or this weekend, and today was the last day. and there were 250 kids at kids camp. They said that today was baptism Sunday. I didn't hear how many they were having or that they have, but I think next week they'll say like how many they had, because just because people sign up, sometimes somebody will be attending a service and be like, you know what, I want to be baptized today, and so they may get baptized at the next service or at the end of the same service. So like I said, we're talking about the life of Moses and how God drew Moses out of Egypt for his purpose. So by the way, I'm having a little trouble with my left eye. Whenever that, I have a nodule on my eye, and sometimes it's like this, but sometimes when it's like irritated, my doctor described it like Swiss Alps. And so sometimes when it's irritated, the Alps stick up higher. And so what that is you've got your cornea. And so whenever it's swollen or irritated, it draws it up, which stretches my cornea and affects my vision. So anyway, I don't know if you can actually see it or not, but I'll show you. It's on. I have it on both eyes, but this is the one that they removed, but it's still there. It's like, you can see I have to look down. It's the little white part on the colored part of my eye. So there's this one, it's the little white part, and then this one. So I think it's like on the interior part. I can't look. Anyway, so there and there. So anyway, so my vision's a little wonky today, so just bear with me. How you like to upside my nose, you? I got any boogies up in there? Callie's outside in her feelings, so I'm going to have to hit pause just to tell her to stop. All right, so let's get on to it. He said he drew Moses out of Egypt for God's purpose. So God chose a reluctant man who felt unqualified, and Moses, and he brought them out. God had them go the wrong direction, and it didn't make sense. So, for example, so what he said, they were leaving Egypt, and instead of long term, they knew they needed to go north, but instead God pulled them out and went south. But he did that for his own purpose. So they were kind of sitting there like sitting ducks. And so he gave us the example of where we are. It'd be like God telling us to go to St. Louis, but instead go by way of Memphis, which we'd go south. So Pharaoh saw Moses and the Israelites just kind of hanging out over there, and he picked 600 men to go collect them. And the Hebrews saw the Egyptians coming. And it said, God sometimes leads you into the impossible. So he said, then the Lord, wait. Yeah. So then the Lord spoke to Moses, tell the Israelites to turn back and camp in front of, this is where he's laughing, Pi-hahiroth, between Migdal and the sea. You must camp out in front of Baal-Zephon, facing it by the sea. So those are the words that he was laughing about, Pastor Chris having him say. So that's A. And then he said Pharaoh sent troops. And he said he knew that God would get the glory. And God told them to camp where Pharaoh could catch them. He said sometimes God allows pressure not to destroy us, but to develop us. So in their case, he was wanting them, because this event was talked about all across that nation after that happened. I mean, he said, even look at us. We're still talking about it, 4,000 years later, or however many thousands of years. We're still discussing this. But he did it because he wanted, it was for people to understand that this was from God, not Moses. So God will put pressure on us not to destroy us, but to develop us. And said, sometimes life hits a dead end, but God can work a miracle to show us that he is God. He said, he gave this example that the disciples, Jesus told them, you're supposed to go out and make disciples, or go on and fish, just make disciples of all men. He told them specific places to go, but Pastor was talking about how they didn't go out. 3 years later, he read where Paul, I think Peter and one of them were going to going into the temple, and it said, as usual, so to speak. And that's whenever they saw the guy saying, "Can you help me?" And then they made him, a blind man, see. And he was saying that, they were just tootling along, just staying in their area instead of going out like they were supposed to. He said they were happy in their own world until Saul came 3 years later and put pressure on them, because after Saul came, all the Christians scattered. And that's whenever they went out telling the world about Jesus. So it wasn't until Saul came and caused the Jesus followers to scatter. B. So Exodus, it says, as Pharaoh approached the Israelites, as Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were Egyptians coming after them. The Israelites were terrified and cried out to the Lord for help. But Moses said to the people, "Don't be afraid. Stand firm and see the Lord's salvation that he will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and you must be quiet." He talked about the people were scared and wished they had stayed in Egypt. And so he said, for us, whatever traps us today, we need to believe that the Lord will fight for us. And we need to just be quiet, step back, or, hear God and just be quiet and know that God's got this. Number 2, he said, don't panic. Don't let panic drown out God's promise. So when God promises to help us, God promises to get us out of situations, we can't panic. We need to just remember, we need to take a step forward because God's going to be with us. He said, panic makes us back up, whereas faith makes us move forward. So C and D. So then it says, the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to break camp. As for you, lift up your staff, stretch out your hand over the sea, and divide it so the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground." And it said, then Moses stretched his hand out over the sea, and the Lord drove the sea back with a powerful east wind all that night and turned the sea into dry land. So the waters were divided, and the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground, with the waters like a wall to them on their right and left. So it says, you split the sea. Hang on. Something. You split the sea. Oh, the song. He said, he talked about the song when he talked about, you split the sea so I could walk right through it. He's comparing that. He was like, yeah, God splits the sea for us even today with whatever we've got to go through. We have to have faith and move forward, and God will part the sea so that we can go through whatever our problems are. And let's see, number 3, he said miracles begin with movement. It says Israelites walked through, and after they walked through, the waters crashed closed. And the word that keeps popping up was afraid, terrified, feared. But we need to have fear in the Lord first. He said, whatever we fear, we revere. He said, so, instead of fearing, and I'm not getting political, but instead of fearing war that's going on, or instead of fearing politics, instead of fearing, the things that are going around the world, instead of fearing those things, we need to fear God, because God's got this. And as we know, God's going to win in the end. So we need to fear the Lord. And Pastor Chris has always said, fear, the way it's said in the Bible, is awe, to be in awe. So not just fear as in afraid, but we need to be in awe of God and seek God out. So we need to fear the Lord versus fearing the world. So he gave an example of Peter walking on water. And he says, we keep looking back at our sins. God made a way for us to go forward and leave that sin. And God closed our way back, closed the sea. And we should not fear the past, but we should not fear the past or find a way back to sin. That we have a choice to go back to sin or stay. I don't know what's in my mouth. We have a choice to go back to sin or to stay with Jesus. We have to fear and awe of Jesus. He said we need to keep moving forward into the promise. He said we either stand still or move forward. And so he was, I missed the big takeaway. The big takeaway is faith isn't a feeling, it's a step forward. So we don't just have faith and okay, but it's stepping forward. So, example, but the Israelites had walked through the sea on dry ground with the waters like a wall on their left and right. That day, the Lord saved Israelites from the powers of Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. When Israel saw the great power that the Lord used against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord and believed in him and his servant Moses. So if you think about it, they were in awe of him. And that's what Pastor Chris always says. We should never lose our awe and our of God. And he asks us to think about our Red Sea moment. I've talked about my past in my testimony video a little bit. So, I'm going to use the word intimacy so I don't cause any issues with anybody. But in the past, in previous relationships, we used for our intimacy, we would watch intimacy videos that were available on the internet. We took part in things that we should not have taken part in. So lately, I personally have been having a struggle at nighttime. When the lights go out and it's dark and I'm laying in bed, those images pop in my head. And so I'm having to do a lot of praying at nighttime. The devil is trying to pull me back into those thoughts and those visions. And he's telling me I'm no good and I'm not worth Jesus saving. And I know I am. Okay. I know I am. So no matter what you've done, no matter where you've been, no matter who you've been, Jesus is here for us and he loves us and he doesn't want us to go back. And I don't want to go back to doing the things that I've done in the past. I don't want to have those thoughts in my head. And so I've also heard that sometimes when it's dark and quiet and your mind's rested, it's when you're the most vulnerable. And that's when I am in my most vulnerable state. So when Pastor said to think of your Red Sea moment and trust God to do what he will do with that. So I know God pulled me out of that. People, I can't always say why I think God is real other than the Bible, but I know who I was when I was not living with God. I've always believed in God, but I've not always been walking with God. And now that I'm walking with God, I know that the devil really, really likes to try to get me back with him and doing the things I shouldn't do. So I know who I was without God, and I don't want to go back. So I know my Red Sea moment was God bringing me back home and bringing me back to him. And so for me, I know that God pulled me out and I don't want to go back. So so that's that. And that's that. So I nighttime lately I've been having to fight that. Just like I said, not some of missing it sometimes, and then also, like I said, just flashes of images coming through my head that are not appropriate. So that's kind of what the devil's been doing to me at nighttime, but Jesus pulled me out of it. He helped me cross that sea. He's closed the sea behind me, and I'm not going back across that sea. I'm not going to try to swim back across. He talked about how sometimes we try to build our own bridge to get back to whatever sin it was. You know, for some people it's alcohol, some people it's substance use, some people it's intimacy issues, extracurricular intimacy issues. Some people it's crime, whatever. But God doesn't want us to live that life, and so that's what I don't want to go back to. So, all right, I love you guys. That's enough heavy, and I'll see you at Leper. I'm about 1:40 right now, so I'm going to kind of piddle around. I can tell you what I need to be doing is vacuuming this floor. I haven't vacuumed in about 3 weeks, but I don't want to. So we'll see if I get motivated to do it. I probably won't. Anyway, all right, I'll see you later. Bye. Hey, I know I'm not eating. Hang on. So I've been thinking, I did that live Monday on Cindy DeManchi's channel, a live Q&A. And it was just so easy. I think I make lives harder than they need to be. So I'm thinking that maybe we should do more lives together, you all and I, like here on my channel. And what I was thinking was maybe like some Fridays, so maybe 1 or 2 Fridays a month. Not anything set in stone because, life happens. And so I don't want to be like, well, we'll do it this time and not that time. But so anyway, so I'm going to kind of go through my schedule and maybe get some Fridays that we can, and I'll let you know ahead of time so that way it's not going to be a surprise. And then I'll kind of talk about it at the beginning of the week so then that way you know. So I'm kind of thinking, she just made it's just so much easy. And I don't know why I was made it as hard as I did. So I figure we can just do it from the kitchen table, and I can have my iPad there so I can watch for comments and questions, and then my phone that I can talk to you guys on. So that's what I'm thinking that we can do. So yeah, so I just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm going to be looking ahead, and we'll figure out some dates that we can do just some lives here on my channel and just chit chat. And I know y'all been telling me I need to do it for a long time, and I just need to get my act together and do it. So yeah, I just want to give you a heads up. So be watching for that. Before we go eat, I just want to show you. This is how these look. They're still oily, but that's because there was fat on them. And but they bend good and they crack. So my plan is I want to go eat. And then I'm going to go ahead and set these out on something like set them out in a tray. I just want them to air out and let that rendered fat dry off. And I'm going to get another round of them going. This took 9 hours total. So I will store them in the freezer until my trip. But I've also have, like I said, the little one. I've ordered a baggie of oxygen absorbers and moisture absorbers, so I will be able to put those in each pack. But I am going to leave like one thing out, like in its own Ziploc bag and not in the freezer, and just see how long it lasts. Because, like I said, I really want this to last me. Like I want to be able to take it with me on a work trip and be able to leave it out like Tuesday night, and then whenever I get home, Friday evening. So I would like it to last about 5 days out on the counter. I'll show you how they look. This is all of them. So I started out with, it was 3 packs of those, it was the thinly sliced meat that I buy. And it was 3 packs of them. And 1 pack of the, I bet you that's what this one is. I bet you this is the Milani, anyway, yeah. I bet you that's what this one, see how dry that one is? There's no fat on that one. I bet you that's maybe, I don't know. But anyway, so that's how they're looking. Like I said, I'm going to let them sit out and eat. Or let them sit out and dry. That's how they are. When the video said you want to break them, as long as they don't look pink, then it's done. And it ain't pink. And it's good. So I'm going to have 5 more trays going. So, all right. That's all I'm going to show you about that. Hey, how you doing? Let's see. So I had sliced up these tomato to put on a salad that I had yesterday. So that was half, and this is the other half. So I put, oh, I'm so excited. I put some of my Vidalia onion salt on it. Nice. Oh, one more bite, and then we'll go on to the next thing. It's like so good, makes you want to slap Judy. Then I know I'm going backwards because it's just for my brain. This is blackberry, keto chow, blackberry vanilla, and let's see. That's good. I was not sure how the flavor was going to be. I tend to like the more chocolatey flavors versus the fruity flavors, but yeah, I like this blackberry mixed with vanilla. Okay, so perfect. Now this, let me tell you about this concoction. Let me bring you over so you can see it. What it is, I told y'all, you make your ground beef and then you can change it up to whatever you want it to be. If I would have had some cabbage, I would have put it in here, but I didn't. So this is my version of an Asian bowl. It's got onions. It was white onions. And I microwaved it just to kind of soften them up a little bit. And then I have the ground beef. And then enters all the flavoring. I put a couple of different, I put some of that smash seasoning. I love Greek seasoning with Asian flavors. I got some some caramelized onion kinders, like caramelized onion on here. And then the sauces, I have G. Hughes teriyaki sauce. I don't have any G. Hughes stir fry, otherwise that would be here. But G. Hughes teriyaki, some coconut aminos, some fish sauce. And I think that's it. I think that's the only thing in there is those three things. Oh, General So. Did I say that? Teriyaki, General So, and fish sauce. Teriyaki, General So, fish. Yeah. Oh, and coconut amino. So 4 things are in here. So this, like I said, tonight this is my Asian bowl. Had I had some cabbage, I microwaved the onions for about 2 minutes. So instead of going on and dirtying up a whole nother skillet, I would have put some shredded cabbage in with this onions and microwaved it for about 2 minutes just to kind of break it down and wilt it a little bit. And then add in the ground beef and the seasonings and sauces and microwave it again. Perfect flavor. A little bit potent, but that's okay. Got a little too much of something in there, but I don't care. But that's what I say about, taking your ground beef. Don't season it when you crock pot it, because it can be just a blank slate to be whatever you want. And then I'll do this, whatever we do tomorrow. I don't know what we're taking tomorrow, but I'll have to weigh it and all that good stuff. So I'll show you that in tomorrow's video, what we're taking for lunch. So, all right, I'll see you later. Bye.